On.
Here we are.
So broadcast is live, and welcome to all our Virginia Opera patrons and fans, and we're so delighted to spend the next hour with all of you and answer your questions and have this interactive kind of forum town hall, so to speak. I'm delighted to not be alone in this and to have on the screen joining us Brandon Eldridge, our chorus master, assistant conductor. Brandon, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Now, Brandon, I hope you have a Martini, Manhattan, or other cocktail. What do you have?
This is the makings of Manhattan, but it didn't get finished, so.
May I ask what bourbon or rye you're using?
Well, it's a funny story, believe it or not, but there were the only bourbons that we had left in the pantry were what my fiance's old bakery had left over. So she would just use Jim Beam.
Oh, that is, we're going to get comments about that because that is a cardinal sin at Virginia Opera. I don't know what to say to you, Brandon, but we'll do better. We will do better in the future. But I'm glad you have a Manhattan. I have an Aperol Spritz, a very colorful drink, and I'm gonna toast to you. Cheers!
Cheers!
I'm gonna do a little clink. That's my sound effect for the evening. So, Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about where you're from?
Sure.
This is now coming up on your second season with Virginia Opera.
That's right. I've been with Virginia Opera, I guess, for one full season already, or what was almost one full season. And so I started with Tosca. We went on to Il Postino, and I was there as well for La Cenerentola, and finally for Aida. And it was a really fantastic year. I'm originally from New Jersey. Grew up in Flemington, which is a small little town with not much to know about it other than the trial of Charles Lindbergh, but that's neither here nor there. And after I had kind of been learning piano for a very long time, I decided that conducting was kind of the next path for me.
And what age was that, may I ask, that you discovered the conducting bug?
The conducting, well, that's another funny little story that looking back on some home videos back to when I was 6 years old, we had come home from I think it was an Easter service, and my grandmother was singing one of the hymns that was happening, and you could see me in the corner doing this little thing, and my aunt off camera, you can hear her saying, "Oh, look, Brandon's going to be a conductor." So that was I guess five years old I was.
Does this still exist? Do we have this document?
Yeah.
So we could find this clip from your family and share it on YouTube or something.
It's only on VHS tape at the moment.
I don't even know how to convert it, but we'll find a way. Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of there's a funny viral video of a little child, a girl, at a choral rehearsal. Like a church choir rehearsal. I think it's in Russia, or it's certainly a Slavic language of some sort. Yeah. And she's making all these expressions. She's reacting and using her hands and a claw and oh no and oh, and just these. It's very, very funny and very expressive, and you can see. I bet that's very.
Yes, it was exactly something like that.
Okay, well then back to piano conducting, and then the last few years, I know that you've spent a lot of time in Europe after graduate school, right?
That's right. So after I finished my studies at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, I just left, basically. I waited kind of over a summer to get my affairs in order, and got on a plane and started figuring things out slowly, but eventually moved away from just teaching English for a while, and eventually started working for a local opera company, which was Opera Bonn. But I did other work as well as from conducting an orchestra that I had. We did a couple concerts a season, and I worked with a small local theater. We produced things like The Man of La Mancha, which was Der Mann von La Mancha. and I played with a traveling cabaret opera kind of group. And that was actually very exciting. And we did quite a few shows, and they're doing very, very well right now. But after some time spent in Germany, I through I don't know, serendipity or whatever you want to call it, enough things lined up that a more regular kind of position that I was looking for at the time to train young opera singers came up in Sweden. So I again, similar fashion, got on a plane and landed in Sweden, and for a couple of years worked there, training young opera singers.
I think I remember you telling me a little bit about spending the winters in Sweden.
Winter.
And, yeah, not so enjoyable from what I recall of that conversation.
Yeah, it's probably the complete antithesis of Virginia summers, I would say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you and I both are glad we're not in Virginia at this current moment. We're glad to be sharing with you virtually, pretending that we're in Virginia. I'm actually in Rochester, and you're in New Jersey for a few more weeks, I think, actually.
That's right.
We'll get there.
And then I'm moving down to Norfolk.
That's right. That's right. So well, eventually you left Sweden, you got back to America, and I want to brag on you a little bit because you came in a year and a half ago. You actually applied for the Emerging Artist Program at one point as a pianist position, and we heard you in an audition, and I think I stopped it after 5 minutes, and I said, "Who is this man? He's very good." And I was looking at your resume and just the list of things that you had either assisted or conducted yourself and music directed and whatnot. And I said, I mean, it would be incredible to have your talents at the keyboard, but you're a conductor, a chorus master, and so much more. So we really wanted to invest in you last season for the full year, and I thought you did a wonderful job with our fine chorus. And yes, so and we were in the middle of a wonderful show. In fact, Aida. That chorus was spectacular. That was a great chorus show, and I know that you had spent many weeks in music rehearsals, and we were in it was the final week of staging. We had just done the final room run, and then Thursday was the day off, and Friday the 13th is when everything just shut down in mid-March. Yeah. So I was so close to sharing that with our communities and getting that fabulous music back on the stage after a 10-year absence, and I'm eager to see that come back. We'll probably get to. I'm sure there are questions along the way about next season and about seasons beyond and whatnot. So we'll come to that eventually. Right. So Brandon, do you want to give us a little sense of what this is all about?
This is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I guess, an opportunity for all of you watching to ask questions about what Virginia Opera will be doing in the upcoming season and the things we've had to change, and really to ask whatever you wish to ask. So the way that it'll work is quite simply, whatever questions you may have, whether you're watching it on Facebook or on YouTube, you are able to type into the comments section, probably somewhere down there, whatever question you would like to see, and then we will get to them as we get to them. And I will prompt Adam. I'm kind of the facilitator, I guess you could say here, and prompt Adam to answer the questions you have. If we aren't able to get to your question, or if you don't feel comfortable writing into this comments area, you can always write questions to the email info@vaopera.org.
Great.
Our plan is, again, to get to as many as possible, though, and but we're aiming to, as Adam started, we're aiming to end this broadcast at 6:30 Eastern time, so in about 50 minutes from now. And one last item was that if you can't finish watching, or you want to send this to a friend to view later, we have the full video available as a live event. Or I'm sorry, yeah, a full. Excuse me. I don't understand what I'm reading.
It'll be available for replay. Yeah.
Yeah, a replay, exactly.
A replay. You can replay at your leisure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before we get to any of your questions, I guess we'll start with Adam. Perhaps you can kind of just give a basic outline of the changes that Virginia Opera has had to make for this upcoming season.
Sure. I mean, I think one of the main reasons we wanted to do tonight was to signal to our audience and our patrons that, we've been talking for many months about all this. These plans were not made without any long consultations with our staff and our donors and many of our board members. We've been in discussions for a long time. Ever since March, we were trying to figure out what's next. What are the next steps? And I think at the end of the day, the most important thing was safety of our audience and our artists, and what can we reasonably do that is respectful of this pandemic and the concerns that are ongoing. So with that in mind, we really got into, I think in April already we could see the writing on the wall, and we could tell that the summer, certainly a lot of summer festivals were being canceled at that point, and we started thinking ahead to the fall and wanting to do the responsible thing, which was to postpone out of safety for our audience. And so the first decision we made was to cancel Rigoletto, postponing it to a future season, and to move the Pirates of Penzance from its second position in the late fall to the end of the season. So it's actually Pirates of Penzance will now take place in April of 2021. With that said, we had originally scheduled a production of Cold Mountain, brand new production, which was going to be directed by Katura Stickan and feature a wonderful cast, but also feature a huge orchestra and huge chorus. When we really started thinking about what would be the most responsible thing to do to protect the safety of artists and staff backstage, and also the audience and the orchestra, there was really no viable way to proceed with such a large production, similar to Aida. I mean, it's a very large scale grand opera. And so we elected to postpone that production, and I'm committed to seeing it in a future season. We're still trying to work out the details of which future season and which position it can go. But we elected to replace that with a double bill of two short one-act operas. One is Poulenc's opera, a monodrama from 1959 called La Voix Humaine, the Human Voice. It's an opera that we've never done at Virginia Opera. And I'll talk a little bit more about that opera later. And it would be paired with Puccini's Gianni Schicchi. Gianni Schicchi we have not seen at Virginia Opera since 1984. It's well over 30 years, and it's very overdue in my mind. Gianni Schicchi for our devoted opera goers, seasoned opera lovers. This is the opera that features one of the, I think, most iconic, famous soprano arias of all time. If you watch America's Got Talent or The Voice or whatever, and you see an opera singer appear on this show, it's usually this aria or Nessun Dorma, another Puccini aria from Turandot. This aria is O mio babbino caro, and it's a glorious melody that I think I hear probably every week at least twice in auditions or something, or online, or somebody says, "Listen to this soprano I just heard," and that's the aria I hear. It's a fabulous show. It's actually a really funny one-act opera, about 60 minutes long. It's a comedy.
It's actually the opera that got me into opera.
Is that right?
True.
Okay, we're going to come back to that because that's a great question for later. So that's the double bill that goes into January, February, and then we follow that with The Marriage of Figaro, which we had originally scheduled, and then we close the season with our third production of the year, which will be that rescheduled Pirates of Penzance. And so all of these decisions were made with in the interest of audience and artists and back of stage, all that with the safety of our folks in mind. So that's the season in a nutshell. Okay.
Great. Well, I guess you started by talking about safety, and first of all, maybe you can just get a little more into what exactly that means for what we'll be doing.
Right. I mean, I know that you're seeing a lot of stuff from Europe, and where the theaters they're already back. Many in Germany, Austria, France, certain places. I've seen socially distanced performances that are indoors. I've seen a lot of outdoor activities, and lots of things are happening, coming back slowly. In America, the situation is slightly different, and I think at the end of the day, we will follow whatever guidelines the CDC releases and suggests for safe gathering, and we're going to listen to our government, listen to the local and state governments, health officials, and health organizations, and take that advice. We won't gather unless it's safe to do so, and we'll be constantly reassessing what's possible, what's realistic, what's the most viable solution. And so, for many months now, we've been as a staff, we've been very closely tied to Opera America. It's our industry advocacy group, and Opera America, they've been doing weekly webinars, practically daily. Zoom sessions talking about all of these issues, all the issues that go into socially distanced seating for the audience, but also socially distanced staging. How do you work with the orchestra? How do you deal with back of house and wigs and costumes? All of these places. I mean, if you've ever walked in the back, the dressing room area of an opera house, there's a hallway, but then you're in a small room, and you might be in there with your chorus mates. You might have, there's a men's chorus room and a women's chorus room, a dressing room, and unless it's safe to congregate and gather in these places and do all that while respecting the boundaries and the guidelines that are set by the CDC, I don't think we'll do so. So we're going to constantly assess what the deal is. We're gonna be watching that carefully.
I know that the industry has been talking about it, daily, and the conversation is evolving every day. So, and I know even back in March, when we were unsure of what was happening, the opera company was very in tune to what was happening at the time, and taking every precaution that we needed to do in order to make the decisions that we had to make.
Well, we're in touch with our partners in the pit, the Virginia Symphony Orchestra, the Richmond Symphony Orchestra. We're constantly in touch with them to find out, what is possible, what are they planning, what can we do to make sure that they're safe and protected in the pit as well. And we're in touch with our venues, with George Mason University in Fairfax, and also at the Carpenter Theater in Richmond, and the Harrison Opera House, of course, in Norfolk, where many of our offices are located, and where the majority of rehearsals take place for many of our productions. So we're going to be watching all of it very carefully and following and respecting all the guidelines that are set before us, and we'll communicate that clearly to the audiences. I mean, we have from now until January to get this going and get all those guidelines set and figure out things. And honestly, we have to be nimble. We have to be able to dance with this ongoing uncertainty. And I know that's one of the words you hear every day. I wake up in the morning and I say, "Good morning, Adam. Are you uncertain today?" It's what anxieties are you feeling today?
Right.
that's part of our this new world we're living in. But I have confidence that we're going to return to something that's recognizable, that's something that's normal, and I just don't feel that the arts are gone. I think people need music, theater.
I think they have an invincibility.
Yeah, I agree. They've survived the bubonic plague. They survived the Spanish flu. I mean, I've been thinking, Brandon, it's so fascinating when you look back at 1918 and the Spanish flu pandemic and how it swept across America. In New York, the Metropolitan Opera, Broadway, the New York Phil, they never closed. And actually, what's fascinating is at the height of the epidemic in December of 1918, there was a premiere of an opera at the Metropolitan Opera written by Puccini. It happens to be Johnny Schicchi, the Trittico. So those three operas, Suor Angelica, Tabarro, and Johnny Schicchi. So it's fascinating to look back at history 100 years ago and to also envision and reimagine what we can do now in this new world. So we're going to stay nimble. We're going to dance with it. We're going to figure it out together, and we will come together and safely gather when the time is right.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of work going into this, and I know, having been a little bit on the sidelines over the last several months, that this is a continuingly ongoing conversation that the priority of the safety of our patrons is paramount.
Yeah.
And that whatever decisions we make, everybody will know what's happening well in advance.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, shall we move on to some questions?
Sure. Yeah.
We do have we have an email question that has come in.
Okay.
Will we continue to have access to the intimate experiences with the singers and the smaller venue performances this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's kind of in relation to the Variation series, which we started 2 seasons ago. That was one of the ways that we were able to channel these intimate performances. But oftentimes we're doing arias and duets concerts and a variety of other meet and greet type events and master classes that we've done throughout the past. And we're looking at all of that. We're trying to figure out, and there's so much that we can't really do right now. Certainly with when we're off season, when we don't have our singers, our emerging artists in town, when we don't have principal artists, when much of our staff is on summer holiday, summer break, it's not really possible to do these performances. But we're certainly looking at what is going to be possible, what's responsible, what we can do in the fall at the end of the day, we want to be able to engage and serve our communities, continue to enrich the lives of our communities. And we will find any way possible to do that, whether it's online, whether it's a live streamed concert or some virtual event like this, but with performance, with Brandon. I mean, I see a keyboard behind you. You should be playing right now, and I'll sing, and then everyone will log off, and that will be the end.
That's right.
But no, we want to do that with singers. But yeah, we're definitely looking into it, and maybe later in the broadcast tonight, I can share some thoughts about that.
Well, I mean, you've actually segued pretty perfectly, I have to say, into the next email.
Really?
Yes, actually, somehow.
Okay.
Will there be provisions to see the operas should I not be able or comfortable attending in person?
So that's a great question. In the winter, spring, if we're in a situation where an audience member is either unable or unwilling to risk, to go with that risk of entering an environment they're not comfortable in or they don't feel safe in. Yes, we do have provisions, 100%, absolutely. There are a number of steps. You can also be in touch with info@vaopera.org and our box office to discuss your options. But But number two, you can also, we're planning to actually videotape and record these performances so that we can share them with patrons that have purchased a ticket and want to be able to see the production from the comfort of their own home or their own living room. You know, we did a little bit of that this summer. We had some archival recordings of La Boheme and Romeo and Juliet, which we were really delighted to be able to share. But those were never truly intended to be consumed on YouTube and in the comfort of your living room. Those were archival. Those were great documents of a moment in time. And they were mostly 2-camera shots. You know, we didn't have the zooming in and the you know, all that kind of motion picturesque quality to those.
People have that.
So that's what we're looking into. Absolutely, that's something that we'll continue to be exploring and discussing over the next over the foreseeable future. I think until this pandemic is over. Yeah. That's a great question.
Sure. Now, something that the next question is hits home for me, because I've also, with this question, I've experienced a lack of work in the last several months.
Right.
And a lot of plans have been canceled that I was, you know, hoping to be in Colorado this summer.
That's right. You were going to be the chorus master in Central City.
Yeah, associate conductor.
Associate conductor, right. That's a place that you, Brandon, as you know, I'm very familiar with Central City.
I heard.
You may know that.
Yeah.
I love Central City. I love being out there.
Yeah, I was really looking for it because Colorado is actually my retirement state. I mean, it's probably a little early to plan that sort of thing.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
But I was really, really looking forward to being in Colorado. But obviously, it made sense to not do that. And this emailer asks us if, you know, it's obviously a hard time to consider the performing arts as your career. How are singers coping with this? How are artists coping with this? And have you spoken to anyone?
I feel like I've spoken to everyone. I mean,
right.
I've been talking to a lot of folks about from all aspects of the performing arts, from conductors, directors, designers, singers, back of stage, all the artisans, and administrative staff and agents. And I mean, this affects so many people. You really cannot believe how many folks are affected by this. I even think about where I first met you, Brandon, the Chelsea Studios in New York City on 26th Street, one of those streets. We've been there for many years hearing auditions. They actually closed their studios. They ceased the business, and it's no longer available for companies to hold auditions or to hold rehearsals and that type of thing, which is shocking. That's in NOLA Studios. That's another rehearsal studio in New York City that closed shop. And I've seen so many singers, friends that have left the city, have moved out of New York, and just moved either to moved home to be closer to their families, or are taking this opportunity to move to a foreign country if they can get there, or a state that they've never lived in before, that might have a warmer climate that they might be able to be a part of in the fall instead of New York City. There a number of our emerging artists actually are in the Metropolitan Opera Chorus, and a lot of alums are with the Met, and of course they've stopped producing anything until I think New Year's Eve is the current schedule for their first performance back. So a lot of people are choosing to leave the city and kind of wait things out outside. It's difficult for all artists to cope through this. All of us, we thrive on being in front of an audience, and it's not, oh, look at me, it's, clap for me. It's not that. It's that expression, that connection with another human being, not amplified. It's acoustic. It's raw. It's the sound that comes out of a person's soul, their being, and it just projects into this huge theater. That's an experience that you can only have in person. You can't have that on this platform. As much as I enjoy YouTube and Facebook and the social media platforms, and the ways to see and engage with artists, it's not the same. It's not the same.
I have a little anecdote, if you'll allow me.
Of course, of course.
About just this very idea. And you know, a lot of people think, oh God, I mean, you listen to opera. Why would you listen to opera? It's just so loud. And usually they've only heard it maybe in their cars where you know, there's a speaker like, you know, a foot away from them, and it's not the same experience. I was with an opera singer friend at a diner, and I think we were I don't remember what was happening. Somebody had a birth. I think it was the person at the bar serving us the drinks. It was their birthday, and of course the guy next to me has to, you know, show what he can do, and he sings "Happy Birthday" in his full, you know, operatic voice, and it's a small space, but the visceral experience that the other patrons of the restaurant had were, and I'm not kidding you, literally tears.
Yeah.
From a happy birthday.
That's the thing. These voices, I mean, all respect to Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland, or any of those types of singers through the years, and I'm blanking on current singers for whatever reason. Michael Bublé, I don't know, or you know, somebody like that. With all respect to those singers, they were all on microphones. Yeah. They were all amplified in front of big bands and you know whatnot in large concert halls that was part of the requirement to be mic'd. Yeah. An opera singer is different. What they've studied for and worked into their bodies. They've trained these muscles that they're born with these incredible talents, but it's something that it's like an Olympic athlete. You train for years and years to be able to do this. And when you hear it, I think back to that question earlier about, you know, these intimate experiences of hearing opera up close and personal. And when you hear it in that kind of format, it's really incredible. It is that visceral connection that you get, and I think that's what a lot of artists are dealing with right now. Is we're mourning the loss of being able to share that and make that connection. That's a big part of it. And you ask about how artists are coping. You know, I was really, really, really pleased that Virginia Opera and our board members. They committed to, you know, a moral obligation, so to speak, of being able to give the artists whose contracts were canceled at least a portion of their fees, if not as much as possible. I really commend our donors and our board members, our generous supporters who have made that possible. That was a difficult decision, and it was difficult financially for everyone. But preserving our artists, making sure that they persevere through this holding pattern, this intermission, whatever you want to call it, this story that I don't know if we're in the beginning, middle, or end. You know, making sure that they can persevere through this, and that they're there for us, and that we're here for them to perform as a platform in the years to come. We're so grateful to our generous supporters and all those donors who have stepped up to really help everyone through this moment.
Yeah. All right, to turn a little different corner, another email question asks, simply, what excites you most about next season?
Just starting. What do you mean? What excites me? I just getting back to it. Getting on the podium. Getting in a rehearsal room with singers. I love singers. I don't know about you, Brandon, but I love being around them. They're fun. They're fun people.
They are.
They're fun people. I miss that. I miss the creative process. I'm looking forward to all that. But about next season, I mean, I can just go one by one. All these operas are fantastic. The double bill, you know, the fact that we've never done the Poulenc opera. It's a brand new opera to our repertoire, written in 1959. It's for one soprano. It's about 40 minutes long, one soprano, and it's her conversation, a telephone conversation she's having with an ex-lover. and you could say it's love in the time of technology. I like to think of it like that. There are some crossed wires, some mixed signals, and there is a bit of dark humor at times. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a comedy, but there are elements of dark humor in there, and musically,
that's a conversation over the phone.
The whole thing. She's on the telephone. I mean, early on in the opera, you hear this. It's the xylophone doing the ringing of the telephone. And for those, I'm in my 30s. I think you are too, Brandon, right?
Yes.
I don't want to give you away. I mean, I'm 25. I'm in my 30s still for a few more years, and I don't know anything about the party line. That was something that I had to look up. I'm embarrassed to say, but the party line was something in the 1950s and 60s, and this is something that the female character Elle, she of the one character that's in this Poulenc, she's on the phone and she's talking to the operator, and she's getting the connection. She keeps dropping, and she gets in touch with her ex-lover, but he's at a restaurant and he doesn't want to talk to her, and he hangs up on her, and then he calls her back. And there are all these elements of technology, and I think, I mean, if you really think about it, it's very fitting because we're all spending a lot more time on our telephones, whether we're looking at a screen or we're on the phone. I have to say, Brandon, I don't know about you, but I almost prefer getting on the phone and just talking. I get Zoom exhausted. I get Zoom fatigue sets in, right?
Like, where do you look and what's behind me? And, there's...
You have to stage your life. Yeah. We're so used to having it all staged for us. We just show up and there it's on the stage, right? Yeah, suddenly it's the other side. But I'm excited about introducing that opera to our audiences, and it's also a platform for a soprano that's new to me, but auditioned for us in the fall. Jessica E. Jones, fabulous actress and performer. So I'm excited to introduce her, and Johnny Skiki. That brings back a host of artists that are dear to us. Troy Cook, baritone, who was with us most recently in Orpheus in the Underworld, starring in his first time doing the title role of Johnny Skiki. I am thrilled to have Troy coming back for that. He's going to eat the stage alive and be hilarious. Awesome. Ben Worley, another former emerging artist of ours, will be with us again, returning, I think, for his third or fourth time. So, and then it's also another platform for our current emerging artists, which is I'm excited to give them the performance opportunity and to introduce all these new singers to our audiences. But the Marriage of Figaro and Pirates of Penzance, I'm excited about all of it. I can't pick just one. I can't just pick one. It's not fair.
Well, there's a few more questions I want to get to, so we'll just keep moving.
Okay, all right.
Another emailer, we have, what can I do to help?
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you for asking that. That's really very kind. And, one of the things you can do is, if you haven't already purchased a subscription, we would be incredibly grateful for that vote of confidence in our season and for having you join us for the productions next season. So please purchase a subscription and purchase and encourage your friends and family to do the same. And when single tickets go on sale, think about that. We also recently sent out an annual fund letter that we're currently in the midst of a major fundraising goal, and we would welcome very gratefully any contribution to that fundraising process. And also, maybe later in the call, I'll later on our Zoom here, I'll talk about some activities that are coming in the fall. But if you're interested in purchasing or bringing a curbside concert, a neighbor, like a backyard recital, or a private concert to your home, to your backyard, and bringing friends and family and your neighbors to see us, I hope that you'll write to info@vaopera.org and ask the question, because we have some fun things in store for the fall, actually.
Well, to go a little bit in the past, and something that'll be of interest to me as well, because I was so involved in the last production last season of Aida. What are the plans for rescheduling this? Are there plans to bring this production back to Virginia Operas?
Yeah, that's a good question. Aida, We had it opened the 2011-2012 season, and it had been nearly a decade since we'd last performed it, and we were all incredibly excited to bring it back after that time. And Lillian Groag directing a fabulous production with a wonderful cast. I was thrilled with the cast and the chorus, of course, and the orchestra. We had just rehearsed all of that. It was going to be really good, and all I can say right now is we are committed to getting that back on our stages when the time is right. And I think in a future season, not too far away, we will be bringing Aida back. We of course at the end of the season last year, when we said goodbye to the artists and sent them home, to go into isolation and quarantine, we communicated to all of them that we want all of them to be back for that production whenever we do it. So that's the goal, and we're just trying to figure out the exact timing that works for everyone. So stay tuned is all I can say for now.
I've been getting used to that sort of.
I know, it's just, yeah.
Thing, that's the most common. But I've been getting more and more used to being able to stay tuned and looking forward.
Yeah, well, that's there are a lot of things that come to mind about. We all are choosing how we're reacting and living with this uncertainty and the anxiety that many of us face. So there's so many missed milestones. I think about folks that have been retiring or graduating or wanting to get married or certain things. There are so many milestones that are being missed right now and not adequately commemorated.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just we're all dealing with it as best we can. But it's how you choose to view it, how you choose to roll with the punches. And I think for the most part we're staying positive and optimistic, and we want to perform, and we're going to find a way to do it.
Great. Well, we have one more question.
Okay.
One last question, unless some others come through. What is happening in the meantime this fall? Will there be any performances, socially distanced, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and I'm pleased to say that we actually do have some things in the works. We have somewhat of a Staying Alive series, an initiative, right? An initiative that I know I'm going to get my white jumpsuit ready to go. Staying Alive initiative that is kind of a Virginia Opera alternate fall, VOAF, and it's very exciting that we can have these activities that we're coming up with. So the last few months we've been strategizing and trying to figure out a way to what can we do? What can we do? A lot of outdoor concerts, a lot of socially distanced things where you would, as I mentioned earlier, this curbside concert. This is something that we've been exploring where we just pull up in your neighborhood with a singer and a keyboard. Maybe it's you, maybe it's me at the piano. And we sing, a 20 to 30 minute program for you and your closest friends and neighbors, and then peace out. And then, stuff like that. Other concerts, maybe indoors in a theater where you're seated in a socially distanced format, if it meets the CDC guidelines and whatever our governor and the state officials have said is safe to do. Live streaming elements of recitals and art songs and fun music that lifts the spirits and makes us all feel a lot better about the situation that we're in. But ways to get us hearing this music in person, that's the goal. And so many folks have been to our Opera in the Park concerts in the past. Last year it got rained out, unfortunately, but gosh, in 10 years or more of doing it, we've only had to cancel it twice because of rain, and the fall can be kind of unpredictable with weather. But the idea is to bring in some singers of our emerging artist program, and then to have that flexibility and mobility. We want to be able to we would quarantine our singers for a few weeks, make sure that they're safe and healthy, they're getting temperature checks, getting tested, all that stuff to make sure that they're a safe pod of performers. And then when it's safe and we're ready, we would go into the community and perform throughout the state, really. I think you would see us for half and half, kind of splitting our time between Norfolk and Richmond, and finding outdoor events, finding parks that have amphitheaters and venues that we can perform in, and other indoor locations that are safe and that work for everyone. So that's something we're exploring, and so I can't give you too many details today, other than
but it's alive and well, or
it's Day and Alive, and VOAF. We're going to be with you this fall doing stuff. So stay tuned. We'll probably be having an announcement about that in the next week or two to share with everyone, and to share how many artists we can bring and all that kind of stuff. So it's very exciting.
Well, maybe we have a suggestion as well from an email for the fall program.
Yeah.
How about some light fare, a Merry Widow, a carousel, light musical?
So that's great. All that rep is wonderful to suggest. I think you absolutely will be hearing arias and songs and what certain smaller ensemble numbers from those shows. The big difficulty in all those productions and in that lighter fare is that, gosh, I look at the list of Merry Widow, Carousel, and some of that kind of stuff. These are big shows, big chorus shows, dance shows, a lot of people. And right now, it's not safe to do that. And even our first show back in January, February, it's a small show. We can socially distance on stage. You think about the La Voix Humaine, the human voice of Poulenc, it's one singer. So it's one singer on stage. That's it. So that is safe. That is socially distanced. Johnny Skiki is a small family. It's they've just had the reading of the will and it's a comedy, but it's not a huge cast either. It's a smaller cast. You could conceivably socially distance that production as well. And I'll tell you, the director of the double bill of the Poulenc and the Puccini is Keturah Stickan. And Keturah was here with us in, I think, the opening of 1617. It's when we did the Seven Deadly Sins and Pagliacci as a double bill. And Keturah right now is in Knoxville, Tennessee, rehearsing a production of Tosca, which will be done at Marble City Opera outside in an amphitheater. And I'm very curious to see how she stages the show and how she makes it work with that cast. And that's one of the kind of the blessings in disguise, is that we have Keturah. She's at the forefront of all of this. And Keturah is out there doing it right now, and she'll be there for us in January, February for our first experience on the main stage back. By the way, I have to give a shout out to Keturah. She has a wonderful podcast, which the name is slipping me right now, but if you just search Keturah Stickan, and we'll find a way to reference it in one of our upcoming emails. She's doing a podcast where she interviews librettists and talks about the creative process and about how they come to make words for music. And it's been fascinating to listen to. So she's a brilliant mind, and I'm excited to have her directing our first show back in January, February.
Well, we're kind of.
Oh my gosh, Brandon! I'm looking at the time.
I just wanted to let everybody know, though. Still, if you want to ask any more questions, you can still feel free to do so. I think you can see it on your screen. The email that you can send your questions to info@vaopera.org. So, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to answer anything else you may have. I've had a good time.
I've had a fabulous time. I feel like, did we finish our drinks? I didn't drink enough.
I know you were just talking.
That's a problem. That's a problem, Brandon. Did you finish your drink?
No.
No fair. Well, here, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
And to all of our viewers tonight, thank you for tuning in. And, here's to you. And thanks for standing by and sticking with us through all this. And we're all going to gather again soon. I know it. I'm sure of it. So thanks so much. And we look forward to seeing you very soon.